Was St. George a Turk? The answer is no, he wasn't. Now, the reason why I'm actually making this video is because I watched Mark Fennell's Stuff the British Stole. I would just like to say I actually do like this show, and I do like Mark Fennell as a presenter. When he was the movie critic for SBS Viceland's The Feed, I always agreed with his takes about film and TV. However, in Stuff the British Stole, there was an episode about St. George, and in the episode, he was referred to as being a Turk from Anatolia. This didn't sit well with me because this is inaccurate. St. George was not a Turk, he was Greek. Or at the very least, he was half Greek, half Roman Palestinian. You see, George's mother was Saint Polychronia. I really do hope that I pronounced that correctly, Polychronia, who actually came from the city of Lydda, now today known as Lod, which was a Roman Palestinian province. Today, Lod is actually in Israel, but it is indeed a formerly held Palestinian territory, which thereby means that George was half Palestinian, half Greek. You see, the thing is, George's father was Gerontius, or Gerontius. I really do hope I pronounced that correctly, but because his father was a Greek-Roman soldier, due to the fact that St. George had these ties with his Greek family and with the Roman Empire, that's actually how he was able to get a foot in the door and become a prominent Roman soldier himself. He was also, more importantly, a Christian and eventually was killed by the Romans, but then given martyrdom. And to this day, he is a venerated saint for both Greeks as well as also Palestinian Christians. However, St. George was still not a Turk. In fact, Turkic peoples didn't actually wind up in Asia Minor, in Anatolia, until the Middle Ages with the Seljuk Turks. You see, gradually over time, the Sunni Muslim Seljuk Turks ended up immigrating from where they were in Eurasia to the Byzantine Empire, going to war with them. The Seljuks were actually master horsemen, a nomadic peoples that were very proficient when it came to archery, hence the reason why they were so incredibly able to just decimate the Byzantines, but not ultimately conquer the Byzantine Empire. That didn't happen until the time of the Ottoman Turks, during the fall of Constantinople and the formation of the Ottoman Turkic Empire and the end of the Byzantine Empire. You see, even though today we refer to Asia Minor as being Turkey or the Republic of Turkey, for the longest time, the ancient Greeks, they referred to this land as Anatolia, and the dominant ethno-linguistic population was indeed Greek, or at the very least Roman Greek or Assyrian Greek. However, of course, today the Turks occupy this land, and because of the fact that Erdogan effectively wants to recreate the Ottoman Empire, sacking and pillaging and all, it's not exactly surprising to say that it's a bit of a controversial topic. Anyway, Erdogan rant to one side. Turks are an ethno-linguistic population from Eurasia, not Europe. They come from the Eurasian steppes. That's who the Turks are. And St. George was not a Turk, not ethnically, not linguistically. He was Greek, or he was Palestinian Greek. Also, here's a little bit of a bonus fact for you. Persian people, they're not Turks either. You see, Persians are actually ethnically and linguistically Indo-European. Historically, they worshipped Zoroastrianism, which actually gave birth to all other Abrahamic religions, including Sunni and Shia Islam. Iran is now a Shia majority country. But weirdly enough, there are some people who think that the Persians are also Turks or Turkic, and they're not. However, now what I would like to do is return back to St. George, because in the exact same episode of Stuff the British Stole, there was actually this fascinating segment about how the Cross of St. George, which is today known as the Flag of England, that was actually stolen from the people of Milan, who used the Red Cross of St. George as their own sigil, only for the English, or much rather the British, to end up adopting it as their own sigil. Which I've got to say, it was actually quite fascinating learning that aspect of English history. Nevertheless, St. George was still not a Turk, and it is important that this aspect of the history is indeed corrected, because even though I do like the show Stuff the British Stole, we shouldn't play fast and loose with our history, especially when we talk about attempting to try to reclaim stolen history. Anyway, thanks for listening to my rant.